What community means, it's a noun and it's also a verb. I mean, to have community, you've got to make community. You actually have to like reach out and touch people and talk to them and get to know them. So that making community, I think, is a really huge role that venues play.
If we weren't giving as much as we are receiving, we really can't have a community.
So, as far as what my industry is, live music, concert promotion, and community in that means, for me as an individual, most of the people that I spend time with in my life now, I've met all of them going to concerts. It is this wonderful community where everybody there has a shared experience. It's this beautiful thing, like I get a high from music when the band's really good or this musician's really good. Then it's like this rush of endorphins and dopamine and serotonin, like the feel good, right?
Yes.
You know, that you get from love, or for some people taking a drug or whatever it is that brings you happiness. And man, live music does it for me.
Music bringing people together is definitely also a part of my history. At Kelly Strayhorn, the theater is a home for people. Even folks who don't often make it to our shows still have a lot of attachment to it and sentimental. It has a lot of sentimental value. People talk about going there as a kid, or their parents went there as kids, or their grandparents went. We hear a lot of stories about people meeting their significant others there. So very similar to the Rex, I think. Definitely an anchor and a hub for different kinds of people.
My world is food. Food is another big connector, I think, of people. It brings joy, brings happiness, and people come to celebrate their birthdays. We have had people propose in one of our restaurants. So Choolaah, but the name itself actually is derived from a concept called Choolaah, which means community oven. So this is a multi-thousand-year-old tradition, almost 4,000 years old. That's how old the Tandoor is. And they used to have community ovens, one oven per community, and they would gather around in the evening, break bread together, exchange news. And so that's what we strive to, is to bring that modern community oven.
When you're talking about the intergenerational, I was walking home from work on Penn Avenue, and there were these two older ladies sitting on the bench in front of the church, and I'm walking, and one of them smiles at me and she says, hi, how are you doing? I said, fine, how are you doing? She said, oh, we're good. We came out of our apartments to sit outside. And then we started a conversation. As we were talking, another woman was walking down the street. She smiled, and then one of them said something to her. And so in a few minutes, we had four ladies who did not know each other 10 minutes earlier.
Oh my gosh.
Having this, and she was slightly younger than me, so having this really interesting generational moment on the sidewalk. I think more of those moments in our neighborhoods, we need spaces for that. We need places for that. So when I think about keeping community, we need the places, right? We need benches. If benches weren't there, which the church just put those benches there recently, if they weren't there, they wouldn't have been sitting there.
That's right.
So you need the infrastructure. The history question it's such a powerful thing to think about, because people will say things like, oh, this neighborhood, it's really cool. It should really have like a thriving art scene. It's like, well, it did. It does. So I'm really always puzzled by that when people are talking about East Liberty or any neighborhood. How do we keep all the parts in the story?
I think community conversations are essential. We can't forget them. It's almost like a talent magnet. That's what I feel, this area, isn't it? Like in all shapes and forms. But if we continue to always never forget what was there, pay respect to that, which created today, I think that's very essential. And I don't know what the right vehicle is for that, but perhaps conversations like this. You mentioned, could we use technology? We use technology to onboard team members when they come into a company, right? So we actually teach them culture, regardless of whether the company was there for 100 years or 20 years or 5 years. we teach them how it became what it is today. So we could use that same philosophy, and maybe when some new businesses come to a neighborhood, they go through an onboarding process, or if it is, right? The city might take on the responsibility of onboarding new people who come into the city. So technology could become a big ally.
You know, no matter what new devices or equipment or whatever, that that human part is all, that's the power. I mean, the technology didn't just emerge like just out of its own DNA. It's people.
Created by
human beings that are talking and working and sweating and like thinking like that. So we have to remember that. When I think about the next 10 years of East Liberty and this moment now, we have a chance to design a community to remind people that they're powerful. There are lots of ways to act. There's lots of ways to influence. There are lots of ways to show up and participate, and that every single action has the ability to impact a lifetime.
It takes having that courage, right? And that desire and that passion to do it. Now I'm thinking about where I can put a bench, honestly. Right?
So there's so much that we can gain if we use it the right way. Anything used the wrong way has dire consequences. But if you use it the right way and if you educate, I think that was one of the big things that I took away, Ben, from your earlier sharing, is education is so powerful. And if we did that, we have a shot of creating something very magical where everyone feels powerful.
Yes, exactly.
Yes.